Welcome to the Community Conversation Toolkit overview. This module will provide a brief overview of what a community conversation is, why they matter for inclusionary practices, and how the toolkit can help you plan and host your own community conversation. Inclusionary practices are taking root in schools all across Washington state. But not everyone understands what inclusion is, what is happening in their school or community, and what matters to their school community for inclusion. That's where a community conversation comes in. A community conversation is an event that brings together a diverse set of community members to listen, learn, and collectively brainstorm strategies and resources that can be used to address an adaptive challenge facing their community. Effectively supporting inclusion requires meaningful partnerships and collaboration between families, schools, and communities. By building relationships with and engaging with families and community members, we're going to better understand people's aspirations for inclusive practices, people's concerns about inclusive practices, how people think and talk about inclusion in relation to the community. We'll better identify what changes are needed and what people believe can be done and who they trust to take action. Inclusionary practices benefit every individual in every school. But if we only think about inclusion as a special education initiative or project, we're going to miss the opportunity of inclusion. The opportunity and promise of a school and community that values every student's success, presumes competence, and is truly a place of belonging. So we hear all the time, when should we have a community conversation? The reality is, it's never too late to have a community conversation. Every school community, whether they are just beginning their inclusive practices work or are well on their way to implementing inclusive practices, they should all have a community conversation. By building a shared understanding, listening, and learning from each other, we're going to strengthen relationships, and that's only going to positively impact our inclusive practices work. The Inclusionary Practices Project Community Conversation Toolkit has been developed to help you plan and host your own community conversation. The toolkit is going to help you plan the conversation, build a space of belonging, engage the community, develop a shared understanding of inclusive practices, harvest key ideas, community priorities, and concerns, and identify actions to take. The toolkit includes a guidance document, 13 appendices, interactive tools, and resources. The guidance document includes background information, a community conversation planning guide, and a facilitator guide. You can find the toolkit and all of its components by going to the fecinclusion.org website. On that page, you'll see a link to the Community Conversation Toolkit. The toolkit is public domain, which means it's free to access and use. All of the Community Conversation Toolkit's components are available to download and print from the fecinclusion.org website. To learn more about the Community Conversation Toolkit, each of the components, and how to use them, watch the Introducing the Community Conversation Toolkit webinar. You can find the webinar recording on the fecinclusion.org website.